Now, if you watch the show, you always know that there are terrible, terrible puns that happen because of my partners Mo and Anne.
Terrible.
So we're
It's
changing.
terrible.
I'm changing the narrative here by going all the way, and we're doing that with a Gilas Pilipinas story because Gilas Pilipinas has officially qualified for the FIBA Asia Cup next year in Saudi Arabia. The men's national basketball team completed a flawless run here at home in the second window and the most notable victory, defeating the 22nd ranked New Zealand. Now, what can we take away from the latest Gilas campaign? Let's take a look at today's PowerPoint. That's right. We're going all the way. May graphic nga tayo eh, all right? So let's go and take a look at the PowerPoint number
He's
one.
been waiting for
We've
this.
been waiting for this, okay?
Professor Pao.
Look at that. Okay, so syempre nung gumanon ako, nawala yung graphic. Pero ito, Coach Tim's system is a great fit for our big men, Junmar Fajardo and Kai Soto. Of course, Coach Tim Cone is known as a big man coach. Therefore, really, those bigger players that we have will really thrive in the system. It is a bit unlike the previous Gilas systems, guard-heavy. Coach Yengyao, Coach Tot Reyes all ran very guard-heavy systems. This is a bit different, and Kai Soto and Junmar Fajardo are really benefiting from that. Now, PowerPoint number 2, we still lack shooters, in my opinion. I had a conversation with Gary David, a former premier shooter ng Gilas Pilipinas, and that type of player that we used to have with Gary David, Larry Fonacher, Marshall Lassiter, we don't have those types of pure shooters in this particular lineup. That doesn't necessarily mean our players couldn't shoot. It's just that if you're taking a look at the floor spacers that we used to have, it has been a bit different. Maybe that might be a part of the lineup that we could still improve on. Could be, might not need it as much, but then you can never go wrong with having more shooters. PowerPoint number 3. This isn't even the best team that we could have. We did beat New Zealand, but then we're still lacking key pieces. AJ Edu, still not in the team due to injury. Jamie Malonzo, also not in the team due to injury. What if they were there? We would be an even bigger and longer team. Which brings me to point number 4. Gilas is big at every position. At the point guard, we have a 6'1" point guard at the smallest, and at the largest, we can have a 6'4" point guard in Dwight Ramos. Those guys are huge. You can have Japet at the 4, Justin Brownlee at the 3. You could have Kai Soto at the 5, maybe Junmar at the 4. And at the number 2 position, you could have a lot of guys, Calvin Oftana, so on and so forth. They're just long. You could have a team, you could have a lineup where the smallest guy is 6'4". And that is a big difference. That is because we can now match up with the teams around the world that are traditionally larger than us. Now, those are my points from the latest campaign. And to judge me on all of that, we have a guest with us here, Jared Dillinger, joining us via Zoom. Jared, thank you very much for coming on.
What's up, big dog, Paolo? Good to hear from you, my man. I love that PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm glad you love it.
Who thought
I don't
of
know
that?
if we love
Someone
it.
needs to
We gotta patent this. We gotta trademark this. But JD, first off, you see all these points here. Are there any ones that you disagree with? Because I have a feeling that some people would look at the shooter's point here and have maybe a qualm or two about it.
Oh man, yeah. Let's play devil's advocate here and try to annihilate your PowerPoint presentation.
Well, you are the daredevil.
To be honest, to be fair, you have a very great PowerPoint, good presentation. I think all of the points that you made are very valid. We can discuss a little bit about shooters, and that can be discussed through perhaps Coach Cone's system on the way he runs our offense. Ideally, he had to change obviously during the different style of play, but ideally he's not a big time 3-point shooting coach. The triangle in itself, he needs to pick players who have the ability to play in tight spaces. You have to have a solid mid-range or some type of midi, whether that's a floater or a 1-2 dribble pull-up or fadeaways, aka JB. But playing in small spaces, I think, and having solid shooters like a Dwight Ramos and a JB would be more than enough to space the floor based on how we play our offense.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaways that I can add to what your PowerPoint was suggesting of all the good things, because I agree with pretty much all of them. And I think, for one, getting high character players is very important under the coach Cohn's philosophies. He's a big chemistry guy, so he needs high character guys. Where kind of alludes to my second point that he needs players playing for each other, not with each other. That system is very complex. So if you don't have one person on the same page with the other four, the whole thing's gonna look like a mess.
Yeah.
So having everyone buy in, which is extremely important with any system, obviously, but that's still a tough task to do, to get players from top to bottom all buy in. On top of that, they play for each other, not with each other, and then you get a good mixture of high character players, and then, hey, you're getting the result.
JD, we're playing the role of educators right now because Mo and Anne here are just basically taking down notes. But of course, we're
Yes, literally.
a lot of people are wondering. So again, they're seeing the resurgence of Kai and Junmar Fajardo on the international stage, and a lot of people are saying that Coach Tim is getting the best out of him. When I mentioned a lot of times that Coach Tim is a big man coach. Why is it that guys like Kai and Junmar would thrive under Coach Tim Cohn?
Well, I think what we need to look at is the way that, again, the system that he created for the triangle, a lot of it gets started playing through our big men. And the biggest key factor on having big men play in his system is that they have to know how to pass the ball. And if you notice, every big perennial player that Coach Cohn gets with it, whether it's on his club team or currently now on the national team, they can all pass. Sonny Thoss, Christian Stan Hardinger, Joe DeVance, Junmar Fajardo, Kai Soto, all these guys, they can pass. And that's what opens everything up for the guards, for themselves, because now they're a threat and they can't, teams can't throw too many different types of looks on them with doubles or triple teams because they can pass the rock. So I think that is one of the biggest glaring factors, is that big men, you have to know how to pass. And in this case, we have two generational type players. One in his later years, Kai in the beginning of his years, but they're both generational players. So it makes the offense look amazing when those guys are playing like that.
Jared, how would you describe the roster, Gilas' roster? What do you think are the team's best attributes and weak points, if any?
Sure. I think one thing that Coach really thrives to look for are two-way players. We have a bunch of two-way players. Mm-hmm. A bunch. Usually it was just designated, where we'd have one or two guys that can play both sides of the ball equally and as effectively. This team, Scotty, Newsom, I know Malonzo's not playing. JB, obviously, Aftan. I mean, I don't want to just go down the list, but you guys can clearly understand that. Now, I think missing pieces, it's hard to say because we're on a roll. And there's always a good saying, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. And you keep that same type of template because it's working. So it's really hard to try to figure something where we can even level up and be better. I mean, that's obviously always the case because we're not the number one team in the world yet.
Oh, wow.
So we can improve. So I do agree with Pau. We do, I would say, at least one. Like, lights out, shooter, that's our guy. Like, maybe Marcio, whoever it may be. I think it should be Marcio. But it's hard to say. We're big, we're fast, we got two-way players, we got camaraderie, chemistry, the offense. I'm with you, pal. Maybe we just need one shooter.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. But, we're looking at the achievements here of Coach Tim Cohn throughout his very short stint here so far for Gilas Pilipinas. Obviously, getting that Asian gold in China, beating Latvia in the Olympic qualifiers, being a game away or a game or two away from the Paris Olympics. A lot of people are looking at what makes his system effective. What makes Tim Cohn basically effective with this group? Because I remember he was in charge of the national team back in the Centennial team when they finished with a bronze in the Asian Games. But what is different this time around in this stint of Coach Tim Cohn?
Yeah. Well, I would say I think what really helped his case to bring his philosophy to the national team was him winning that gold. And I think it was such an easier way to get these guys to buy in even more. And, you know, Coach Cohn's, coaching career, he's running the triangle the whole time. And I can tell you, throughout his tenure running the triangle, I promise you, these teams that's played under him, there was pushback where they didn't want to play the triangle. And he had to really get it in them to just trust me, buy in, whether we're winning or losing. So I think the fact that wins a gold, been over 60 years, it's such an easier way for the players to dude, we got to buy in, man. We won a gold with this system.
We win with this.
There is no questioning, We don't know. We buy in right now. This works.
It's going to be interesting times, Jared. Sorry to cut you off. It's going to be interesting times here because of the fact that Gilas is actually not done with the qualifiers, even though they've already made it to Saudi Arabia. Right, Mo?
Yeah, so JD, I want to know, you said we're doing really well, and under Coach Tim Cohn's coaching, basically, it's a new system and it's hopefully going to work. How do you think we're going to do moving forward? What is your prediction on how Gilas will do moving forward?
Especially in the Asian Cup. In the Asia Cup.
So I have high expectations for Gilas, extremely high. I said it on Twitter way back that I fully believe we're going to be a top 10 basketball country. And I got some pushback. And this was before we won gold. And I still hold very high beliefs and faith that we can crack that top 10. So coming into the FIBA Asia Cup, I expect us to win the whole thing.
All right, before we let you go, JD, you expect us to win the entire FIBA Asia Cup, but then the big question is that Australia is considered an Asian country in FIBA basketball world. We did play New Zealand, we did beat them. How far are we to taking down on Australia, which is going to be one of the big moving targets, especially when they're at full strength?
Yeah, that is really the barometer that we're trying to figure out on how to beat that team. Great group. Those guys play with each other for a long time. They got great leadership, like a guy like Patty Mills. No matter how old he gets, he still finds himself on the national team just because of the value that he can give on and off the court. So it's going to be, they're well coached. They played a long time with each other. So it's hard, man. It's hard to say. Of course, we're going to, come in there gun smoking. We're confident. We'll be prepared. But they are the barometer. So I wouldn't say we're very close. It's a work in progress, but we're definitely moving the needle going forward. That's for sure.
Thank you for joining us this morning and, of course, getting your setup ready for us there, JD. It looks great. Great to see you all the time. And good luck in the season with Barangay Ginebra San Miguel.
Thanks, my guy. Good to see you, buddy. All right, my man. Thanks for having me, everyone. Bye.